We are ready, Master.
Good evening, everyone. Let's continue with Master YongHua's Chanchi instructions.
So, Master, we didn't finish. We will start audio on slide 235.
235, so I have to talk? Okay. Glad you reminded me. Okay. So he says here, he's talking about having busy lives. Everyone has busy lives. And not just lay people, but level people as well. You must make the effort. You need to keep busy in order to do well professionally. Now he brings back his temple. This new way place looks kind of ugly, inside, outside. It looks acceptable, but inside it's not very nice at all. So therefore, they're busy adorning this new way place. And so that's why now both lay people and level people are busy working, adorning it, morning and evening. Okay. And they do a lot of work themselves. They don't have a lot of money to hire professionals, so they did everything. And I wonder how they got the money to buy this way place anyway. And so talking about busyness, they are for oneself or for others. And she says that when you help out adorning the way place at that time, like they were doing, that's called public spirited, unselfish. This is for all living beings. And it's being busy for the public good. And what about being busy for yourself, personal reasons? It's just being busy himself. He says for yourself, it's just very small in consequences. You only benefit yourself and a small area, small domain. On the other hand, the public domain is much larger, broader scope, which requires you to have a broader mind. You see, this is the fundamental concept. When we're only busy for ourselves, for personal gains, then it's very limited in scope. Whereas when you do for public goods, which affects a lot more people, meaning you need to take more of others' needs and wants in consideration, then your mind has to be broader. Okay, and so that's what monasteries are trained to do. They are trained to take care of, look at public issues, and like adorning a way place. Adorning a way place is the traditional way of building temples, because it's a public place, and most people would understand the importance of adorning the way place for everyone. Okay. And you see, this is where the traditional style versus our style, where we use a minimum level adornments, and we invest more money on other things to help extend the reach of the Dharma. And so for there, this is a more traditional Masashino style where you do in a way place so that people come and they see it's a temple. Whereas for our case, until DTT, we really don't have temples at all. Okay. And so, but regardless, what we do, he chooses to adorn the way places is for the public good, not for themselves. And in order to adorn way places, he says we need muscle power and we need a lot of materials and resources. And therefore, traditionally, the Buddhist disciples and their Dharma friends would come and support the way places. And he says here, for this particular opportunity at his temple, he didn't come out and say that directly, but much the way he talks is that very factual. He doesn't exaggerate. He doesn't lie. He says this, meaning this temple, is a kind of merit and virtue that doesn't happen very often. Meaning that for him to come to San Francisco back then to build a way place, and that's a really a very rare event indeed. Isn't it amazing that something that big, that grandiose, that important would be so minimally supported? Doesn't it make you wonder? I mean, he's such a big shot. He's a Mahasattva. Why wouldn't he do it, like have a big sponsor and build a big temple? Because others do that. You think? Okay, anyone here? Yes, 8.
I see that for today, maybe give the chance to poor people to have a chance to create merit and virtue.
Poor people. You mean not rich people?
Yes.
You're not poor. Let's face it. None of you is poor. Yeah. Okay, absolutely. Yeah. Cultivation. If you go to a place of cultivation, then you find that is a one common characteristic, that is, nothing is that easy. When you have big donors and who would buy you a big church, and actually I've been recently to a beautiful, beautiful church in San Francisco. You know, the parking lot is bigger than all the properties that we have combined, more or less. And the building is like, humongous, like 4 times, I'm told, the size of Wei Mountain Temple building. And that's just the church itself. It doesn't count, that's not counting the high school, which is even a bigger building. And I just always wonder why the churches are so much more, have so much wealthier than we are. It doesn't mean that we're not doing important work. It's just, why is it we're doing more important work, supposedly, and yet we're a lot poorer? Same principle. In Buddhism, to cultivate the sixth patriarch said, in his the fifth patriarch said, he told the sixth patriarch, the sixth patriarch came to Huangbei, the fifth patriarch's way place, and he worked there for about 6 months, 8 months, and then after that, he was ready. So the fifth patriarch, until then, gave him no instruction except go in the backyard and work. So the sixth patriarch was threshing rice for months, and no one to talk to, and he's, in spite of that, he's very single-minded. Okay, and that's the Buddhist training. Whatever happens, you learn to become single-minded in your work. Okay, don't get distracted by things. And so, since he was told to work, and he was was shown the place in the back where he was to thresh rices, he single-mindedly worked day and night. Okay, and he did above and beyond what's asked of him, practically. Okay, that's a mindset. So he worked very hard, that's all. He said, instruction was, go work in the back. So he did. And lo and behold, after several months of working, he was ready. He became enlightened. And so the fifth patriarch knew that. And so he came around and said, is the rice ready? And the sixth patriarch, yeah, it has been ready for months now. You see, point number 2. Don't bother the patriarch by telling him, when are you going to teach me? You'll be taught when you are supposed to be taught. Okay? And so the sixth patriarch was ready, never said anything. He simply waited. And that's part of the training. You wait. And wait. And so the fifth patriarch then came around and said, well, I don't want to talk to you in public, so why don't you come to my room at 2 or 3 in the morning? So the sixth patriarch did that. He came to the fifth patriarch's room, which then covered both of them in his sash. Okay. I don't know what kind of good proofing the Chinese textiles were back then, but it's funny that he covered both of them under his sash. Okay, some sort of spiritual powers, I guess. And he spoke the Vasha Sutra to the sixth patriarch. Okay, yeah, and because back then the Chan transmission was centered around the transmission of the Vasha Sutra. And so he explained the Vasha Sutra to the sixth patriarch, which is then basically was his first formal training in Buddhism, in Buddhist principles. And then he says, okay, I'm done, so get out of here. So he kicked him out. And he said, let me give you a piece of advice. The Dharma only arises in difficulty. No one ever asked my teacher, my Chinese teacher, what does that mean? When we explained it, the sixth Patriarch Sutra, no one asked me either. It sounded so straightforward, doesn't it? The Dharma arises from difficulty. Anyone can find the Chinese phrase for that in the Sixth Patriarch Sutra? Okay. That's exactly the case here. Yes, Wei Mao.
Thank you, Master. What does it mean for the Dharma to arise in difficulty?
Thank you for asking. I'm so glad you asked. And after that, Huineng, or the prior name of the sixth patriarch, yes, what's the Chinese expression?
佛法难起.
佛法难起. The Buddha Dharma arises from difficulty, from hardship. Nan is not difficulty alone, but it means hardship. More precisely, a much more precise translation would be the Dharma arises from hardship. You may want to change that translation and that phrase right there, okay, in our version, please. The Buddha Dharma arises from hardship, not difficulties. Difficulty is worldly. Nan is hard. Okay, it's so hard. And so after that, the cultivation path of the sixth patriarch was filled with hardships after hardship after hardships. It was never easy for him to make it in the end until he was ready to teach. It's all filled with hardships and minimal support. Okay, and so it's only after that he became a patriarch where he was recognized and got plenty of support from the existing Dharma masters who recognized him as a patriarch. He got plenty of support. That's when it was a lot easier for him. It's two different phases. First phase is for him to cultivate. He encountered only hardships. Second phase, when he was propagating the Dharma and teaching the Dharma, he got a lot of support, plenty of support. Okay? It doesn't mean it's any easier, but on the surface, material-wise, support-wise, on the first phase is really zero support whatsoever. And that's what is meant by the Dharma, the Buddha Dharma arises from difficulty. Meaning that in order for you to master the Buddha Dharma, you need to be cultivating in the midst of hardships and not give up. It's so hard. Is that you always ask yourself, how much longer can I do this? Okay, that's about hardship. What about the Buddha Dharma arises from? What does it mean? Anyone? I only explained you hardship. I did not explain you how the Buddha Dharma arises from hardship. In contrast, if you're soft, Does the Buddha Dharma arise from softness like you? You should all be looking down. Don't look at me like that. It's being dishonest. Huh? Go first.
Master, is it that during hardship we are more likely to shed our attachments?
What does it have to do with the Buddha Dharma arisal? Yes, too.
Sure. I'll take a stab at it. I feel that with the hardships, in order to solve the problems that are arising, you need wisdom to solve those problems. And only in that struggle and that need would you cultivate and strive to open up your wisdom so you can tackle those problems effectively.
Okay, getting close. Anyone else? I always find it funny and no one asks about this little phrase where it is so profound that the fifth patriarch had to tell the sixth patriarch. Yes, in the back.
불법이 어려움에서 일어났다라고 했던 것을 한 예를 들면은 한국에서 11세기 몽골이 이제 침입을 했을 때 그 국난을 해결하기 위해서 8만 대장경을 만들었던 그 역사가 있습니다. 그것이 그 어려운 고난 속에서 불법이 일어난다라는 뜻이지 않을까라는 생각이 듭니다.
Master, when we heard this phrase about the hardship, and I remember there is an example, maybe, perhaps, in 11th century in Korea, when the Mongolian attacked Korea, what the Korean Buddhists did was they created 80,000 wooden blocks written for the Tripikas. Do you think that would have been an example of Buddha Dharma arises from hardship? Thank you.
Yeah, that's an example. Yes. What does it mean? What does example mean? Come on, Koreans, it's your culture, it's your heritage, you should know. Sinan, what do you think?
일어난다는 의미는 제 생각에 의사는 환자에게 필요한 것이듯 고통받는 사람들에게 불법으로 인해서 그들이 자유롭게 되고 평안하게 되는 것이라는 생각이 듭니다.
As if a doctor is needed for patient, I think suffering needed a Buddha Dharma so that the suffering living beings will be free and become comfortable.
Okay, very good. Over here, we have 8 over here on DTT.
Is it like the effect of a springboard? Like, you know, the further you go down, the higher up you're able to go?
Mm-hmm. Good analogy. Okay. JC.
아까 서주스님 말씀하셨던 거하고 비슷한데요. 어떤 어려움이 생길 때 자신의 능력으로 그 상황을 돌파하지 못할 때 그때 이제 우리가 쓸 수 있는 방안이 불법 방법에 의지하고 그걸 이용해서 돌파할 수 있기 때문에 그때 불법이 일어날 수 있다고 생각합니다.
I believe it's kind of similar to Sajusinim's explanation about difficulty. When ourselves cannot overcome, then we rely on Buddha Dharma. So that way we'll go through the difficulties with the Buddha Dharma.
Okay. JMT. No GMT? Okay. What about here? One here.
Master, I think with difficulty, we have a chance to shred the affliction in the mind, and then we shred it, and then we have the wisdom. So that I think that's the case.
Okay. Wei Mao.
Thank you, Master. Could it be the Buddha Dharma arises from hardship because the Buddha Dharma has an indestructible substance, and so to create something indestructible, you can't have room for impurities. You have to hammer it all out. Diamonds are formed under extreme pressure. That's how they get so hard and so strong. That's my thought.
Very good. All your answers are pretty good. All are different perspectives of that meaning or the meaning of the phrase. Yes, JMT.
어려울 때 불법이 일어났다고 하는 건 제 생각에 우리가 보통 제 자신을 돌아봐도 되게 힘들 때 수행을 좀 절실하게 하는 것 같아요. 네.
Master, we talk about this Buddha Dharma arises from the hardship. Reflecting on myself, I do cultivate harder and sincerely when there is a hard time. And she's going to continue.
그러니까 뭐 선택지가 있다거나 그렇게 좀 빠져나갈 구멍이 있다거나 그러면 그냥 이렇게 한계에 부딪히는 임계치를 계속 넘어서야 되는 수행을 하진 않게 되는 것 같아요. 그래서 불법이 지금 흥한다라고 이렇게 해석했을 때 힘들 때 그것을 절대적으로 하게 되고 결사적으로 하게 되면서 이렇게 진전도 일어나고 그렇게 사람들이 진전함에 따라서 불법이 흥한다고 저는 생각합니다.
Master, if there's any choices for us, it will be harder for us to cultivate. If there's a way to get out, then we won't be putting ourselves 100%. When we overcome our limit and the hardship, we cultivate to death, and we'll make a progress, and the Buddha Dharma will flourish.
Are you prepared to cultivate to death?
죽는 것처럼 그렇게.
No.
저는 약한 사람입니다. 마스터.
Master, I am a weak person.
Then you will never get the Buddha Dharma.
Yes, Master.
Okay, next. Okay, you got the idea. It's all those aspects. So the bottom line being that the arisal means that it originates from hardship. The Buddha Dharma originates from hardship, meaning that not anyone's hardship, but your hardship. Okay? It's not about anyone else, but your hardship. That's exactly the intention of the instructions from the fifth patriarch to Great Master Huineng. The Buddha Dharma will arise from your hardships. And that's exactly what happened. He had to endure a lot of hardships, and that's how he's able to understand the Buddha Dharma, his Buddha Dharma, in a very profound way. So the point being that if you look at the history, at the life, or the story about the life of great Master Huineng, the sixth patriarch, the kind of hardship he endured are just incredible. You know, it's just look like it's impossible. There's no way for him to make it. Everyone is after him. Everyone wanted to kill him. Way before he was ready or able to fend for himself. Okay, so it's like the fifth patriarch says, you know, hey son, I tell you what, this is your training. Go in the wild. And good luck to you. If you make it, then you will understand your Buddha Dharma. You will master your Buddha Dharma. And this is consistent with Master YongHua's teaching. He says, someone asked him, Great Master, what is the Mahayana? Master YongHua says, I am Mahayana. Mahayana is in me. Mahayana is what my wisdom is about. And Master YongHua similarly endured a lot of hardship himself. Okay, and so that's what the phrase means. Buddha Dharma arises from hardship, meaning that Huineng, from now on, the more hardships you endure, the more, the higher your Buddha Dharma can rise. And those were the days. Now we can't take it anymore. We give up. We think it's too hard. So we give up. And we whine. And we complain. Okay? And that's why those bodhisattvas, mahasattvas appear in the world, and including the Buddha, where they demonstrated that the Buddha Dharma arose from hardships. The Buddha himself had everything you could ask for, you could aspire for. And he says, nope, none of this is ultimate. None of this can end my suffering. I still suffer, okay, in spite of how rich I am, how much money I have, how much love I have from my wife and my family and my subjects. Still I see suffering. I'm still suffering. And if I continue, the suffering will persist. Therefore, there must be a better way to end my suffering. Okay? And in order to end his suffering, he gave up all those things so that he could endure hardship. If he did not give up those things, then his Buddha Dharma could have not arisen. A more recent example from the Chinese is Layman Pang. He's a very famous layperson in China by the name of Pang, Mr. Pang. And he's a very wealthy man. And he decided one day to cultivate. He liked Buddhism so much, he says, I want to cultivate because this is the most meaningful thing for my life. He's been so successful. You know, he got money. He got a lot of money. He got power. He got influence. He got success. He got a beautiful family, a wife, and 2 children. 1 boy and 1 girl. Okay, so it's ideal family life. And he gave it up because he said, you know, all the achievement I have, the things I have, really pale in comparison to the achievement I will be able to do, to get from cultivation. See? Very smart man, very successful man. It's not from talk, it's not from delusion. He accomplished success already. He's considered a success, a case of success. Okay? And so he says, in order for me to cultivate, okay, he gave up everything. He did something pretty stupid, actually. He put all his gold and his, and his wealth. Back then it came in the form of, they had the rolls of coins. And the coins back then has a hole in the middle. So to carry it, you string something through, okay? You carry that, okay, to go shopping. And back then, a Birkin bag is a lot cheaper than nowadays. And so he put all his wealth on a boat, and he rowed to the center, the middle of a huge lake, and he dumped all that into the lake and said, "This is my offering to Dragon King." It's a very, very stupid thing to do. Okay, because no one advised him, but he knew the principle behind it is that he gave up his wealth, and so he built a hut, like something, a small house behind his house, and lived there, separate from the wife and from the children, and he lived a very, very simple life. Okay, and so the idea is that it's not really hardship yet, because he's got plenty of support from his friends and the people who owed him. So they came and supported him. But because of that, he was willing, because of the fact he was willing to give up all his possessions and start over, very much like a Buddha, very much like a monk. But except he was not a monk. So he gave up all those things, and that's how he cultivated, and eventually he became enlightened. Okay, and too bad for him that he was not properly taught. That's why his attainment is pretty mediocre. My guess, based on what I read from his teachings, his stories, he's about mid-range, 5G or so. Okay, but he's a very famous Chinese character, because the Chinese people revere that and say, "Wow, this is such a beautiful story of someone who is rich, successful, and happy, give up everything to attain even far greater achievements." Okay, and that's superior wisdom. And the point of my telling you the story of Layman Pang is that before, I used to be enamored by him, just like most people who read the Chinese Chan would be, because he's like a folk hero to the Chinese. And the reason that Layman Pang did not get very far, his Buddha Dharma is pretty average, is because he failed to endure enough hardships. All right? Does it help? It's a tremendous wisdom in that phrase right there. Your Buddha Dharma arises from the kinds of hardships that you're able to endure. Okay, so the same here. Back to slide 232. Master YongHua When he came to the United States, he got barely enough to sustain himself so that he would not compromise himself, begging for food, begging for things, okay? And taught that to his disciples, they would not compromise themselves when they were hungry, when they were poor, okay? But all of them struggled with hardships. And that's how, that's why he said, it's very, very precise. It sounded so casual. He says, this kind of, when we're struggling like this, the kind of help we get from people, the merit and virtue derived from such opportunities are very hard to find. It's so true, okay? And that's why my generation and gold generation, we had a lot of enlightened disciples who struggled with him, who stuck with him. And after he's gone, they're flush with cash, they're flush with properties, they're flush with support. Okay, from what I can see, third generation really have unimpressive results. Too much money. Too much support. And that's very bad because it's dead end. The times are different now. We need to justify our existence. We can't simply sit here and wait for people to come and support us just because we're the Sangha. Just because we have the Buddha Dharma. All right? And so what he said here, 232. This is a very important lesson that we can draw from this period of the arisal of the Buddha Dharma in the United States. The Buddha Dharma back then arose with Master YongHua's difficulties. Okay. And so that's what he said, when you have this kind of opportunity, everyone should strive to be first and move forward and not fall behind. That's a Chinese expression, that when you see this opportunity, you should fight each other to not fall behind, to not miss the opportunity to be the first one to contribute. Okay, or is it something like, Zhen xian gong ho. Gong something. Zhen xian gong is missing something. Gong ho. Okay. Okay. And so you fight to be the first one in line, and you're afraid to be the last one in line. Okay, and that's a Chinese expression I remember vaguely, and this is what we can learn. We can draw from a Chinese wisdom. When an opportunity like this doesn't come very often, so he says you should strive to be first in line and fear to be last in line. Questions, comments? And this is a very important lesson. I want to stress on this lesson because as he said, we don't have the kind of opportunities anymore. He's gone. And it shows. In that environment, at the time, a lot of people developed their Buddha Dharmas. Now, we don't have such opportunities anymore. And so he says, so conclusion is that you should be vigorous, okay? and work together to make this way place flourish. 235. Any questions? Okay. Yes, 8.
So what's the difference then between someone who goes through a lot of hardships and attains Buddha Dharma and someone who goes through a lot of hardships and just fails?
Good question. I never thought of it. Failure is not an option. Okay. Do we fail? We don't fail, do we? Never. So that's why I never faced that problem. But that's a fair question. What is the difference? You too.
Thank you, Master. Sorry, this is an additional question, so we can wait until we tackle this one first if you want.
It's okay. You can ask before you forget.
Okay. Thank you, Master. Din Tai asks, how do we practice taking a loss if we fear being last in line?
Fair question. Anyone has any ideas how they answer the two questions? Yes, YouTube.
We don't have another YouTube question, but I have an idea, Master.
Okay.
My thought is define failure, define being last in line. The story of the two monks who go into the desert and the one monk doesn't drink the water and dies, he did not end up last in line. I think there can be a misconception about what failure is based on our worldly perspective and what it actually is in the long term.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Are you satisfied that the second question was answered? You need more time? It's like you guys are so complacent. You sit here and wait for Master to answer all the questions. Huh? Isn't that so pleasant? Pleasant evening at DTT. Yes, 6. Especially the San Diego people. Oh, we drove all the way up here. Now we can relax. Yes, 6.
Second question. I feel that when Master YongHua taught us to take a loss, that's when we have a chance to have some gains. But when he talked about like 争先恐后, he's asking us to do things for free, so there's no gain.
It sounds so bad. Doesn't sound good. Yes, Wei Mao.
Master, I think the difference is that when the sixth patriarch has a good knowing advisor as a fifth patriarch telling him to endure the hardship, the difference is when you don't have a good knowing advisor, you endure the hardship, but you don't know where to go. But when the good knowing advisor tells you to endure this type of hardship, then we will be able to make improvement.
Okay.
That's the difference.
All right. Anyone else? Yes, 2.
Thank you, Master. On the question 1, why? I think there's a misconception about success and failure. I think the people that have been successful have endured many failures. It's how they deal with their failure that makes a difference. If you fail and you give up, then you're never going to succeed. So I think with cultivation, we have endurance to try to deal with our failures and figure it out.
What about number 2?
Can number 2 be rephrased again? I kind of forgot exactly what it was.
Me too. How can it be a loss, taking a loss, if you fight to be first?
Can you hear me, Master?
Yeah.
I can reread the question from YouTube. Dintai asks, how do we practice taking a loss if we fear being last in line? I'll provide a second thought on the question, if that's okay. I think cultivating overcoming your fears is a good thing. So try standing at the end of the line, especially if you're fearful of it, and see what happens.
That's all you have for today? I don't practice fighting to be first in line. You see, I wait for all of you. I'm last in line. Okay, so I don't know how they answer the second question. Yes, 3.
I think maybe the Master YongHua is talking to those pretty low-level disciples, and this is the right way to motivate them.
Maybe. Low level. I would not call his disciples low level. Okay. What if you fight hard? If you encounter hardship and you fight and then you fail? You too, go ahead.
Thank you, Master. Diego has an answer to the fear of being last in line. Diego says, Emitofuo, Master, strive to be the first one in line and then give your place to the last one in line.
That's one way to deal with it, yes. Okay. So that's address the first question. So you fight hard and you endure the hardships. That's how you develop your Buddha Dharma. What if you can't develop your Buddha Dharma and you fail? What happens? Is that the question? Your question?
I guess what was the point of the hardship if you don't succeed?
Yeah, and then you fail.
And so then what distinguishes those who succeed from those who fail? Sorry. Yeah, and so then how do you be one of those people who does attain the Buddha Dharma rather than one of those people who fails?
So how do you make it to the group that attains the Buddha Dharma?
Yeah.
And avoid the group that fails? Okay. How? Yes, 6.
I think there are things that are under our control, such as when there's hardship, hang in there, don't quit, don't break precepts. So observe kind of the rule of the game. Don't try to cheat. Don't try to like take shortcuts. So these are the things that are under our control that we can do. And then there are things that are not out of our control that after we tried everything, it's not guaranteed that we will succeed. So I feel that's that comes down to a choice if you wanted to commit to such a game or not. But even if we fail, it's like reciting Guanyin Pusa's name. Like your recitation is never in vain. So even if we fail this life, the merit and virtue still carries on.
Okay, Wei Mao.
Well, I can speak for myself. I was left home and I returned to normal life. So
normal life doesn't sound right. Okay, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you. It's just like I react too much. I should do more, John.
I apologize. I returned to lay life. So just my advice to you: if you want to be successful, don't quit. Don't give up on the path. And it's just a test for you. And if you don't quit, you just keep trying your best and trying to see what's going to happen next. But disregard of what it is. Now that I return to normal life, I want to lay life. Sorry. I want to build up the blessing so that next time around, when I have a chance again, maybe next life, not this life, that I can be able to continue going to this path again.
And have a normal life. Okay. JMT.
들리세요? 네. 그러니까 실패에 대한 기본적인 마인드셋도 문제라고 생각을 하거든요. 제 생각에 실패라는 거는 제가 정의한 실패의 정의는 고난과 타협한 결과라고 생각하거든요. 네.
So I think that there's a problem, the mindset of thinking about the failure. I think the failure is a result of dealing with hardship.
Okay.
그 타협이 컴프로마이즈라고 해석해도 될까요?
Compromise with the hardship.
네, 제 생각에 실패의 정의는 고난과 타협한 결과고, 그래서 복을 짓고, 그러니까 실패하면 복을 짓고 다시 도전하고, 실패하면 다시 복을 짓고 다시 도전해서 될 때까지 하면 그게 성공이라고 생각합니다. 몇 번의 과정에서 실패는 중요하지 않아요. 결과가 성공이면 되는 거죠.
So the failure, someone failed, but you build blessing, and you repeat it several times. If you did it long enough and then go on this process, it really doesn't matter how many times you failed, the final result, if you succeed. And I think that's important.
Very good. All your answers are pretty good. It's very insightful. That's very good. Let me ask Jumi in at JMT there. Are you successful? Are you a success? Did you succeed?
안 들립니다, 주미씨.
들리세요? 들리세요? 네. 여태까지 세간적으로 했던 목표는 다 이뤘기 때문에 제가 성공했다고 자신할 수 있는데 지금 성공했냐라고 하면 저는 성공 아니라고 생각합니다.
So far, anything with the worldly aims, I could say that I succeed. But now, if you ask me if I succeed, I would say no.
So you're a failure.
실패자라기보단 약자랑 겁장이인 것 같습니다. 저는.
I don't think I'm a failure. I think it's more I'm scared and also I'm weak.
But you didn't succeed. You can't have them both. You're not a failure, but you did not succeed.
마스터, 저는 실패자라고 말씀드렸는데 현재 기준으로 만약에 대답을 해야 된다면
Master, with the current criteria, current standard, I said I'm a failure. I told you that I'm a failure.
I heard the rumor in Korea that you're enlightened. How can you be a failure if you're enlightened? So being enlightened is a failure?
마스터, 저는 잘 무슨 말씀 하시는지 잘 모르겠고 저는 원래 이렇게 뭐 학교라든지 직장이라든지 그렇게 제가자로서 목표를 세우면 원래 될 때까지 하기 때문에 제가 승률이 높았던 것뿐이라고 말씀을 드린 거고요.
Sounds like excuses.
Master, I don't understand what you're talking about, but what I was trying to say is aspects of work or school as a layperson, I aimed something and then I was successfully completed. So I said, in that chance, I won a lot.
Okay.
제일 중요한 건 다른 사람 평가보다 제가 주관적인 저의 생각이 가장 중요할 것 같은데 저한테는 저는 성공했다고 생각해 본 적이 없습니다.
I think the most important thing is not relying on others' judgment or others, what they see about me. It's about my own perspective about myself.
Okay, very good. Here's a short answer to question number 1. If you try to cultivate according to the instructions, that is success already. The success there is only a matter of time. Because when you follow the instructions to cultivate, you are planting the seeds for success. That's guaranteed by the Buddha. I didn't make that rule. So it's only a matter of time before you will make it. Until then, unfortunately, you have to fail. But that's part of the training. You fail so that you can succeed faster. If you fail and you stop, then you would take you quite a bit longer, that's all. But it's all in both cases, you're guaranteed to succeed. And that's the Buddha's words, not mine. Okay? Anyone disagrees with me? Okay. Problem number 2, question number 2. How can you be taking a loss as you taught if you fight to be first and are afraid to be last? Okay, it sounds like On the surface, it sounds like it's a mockery that our instructions are contradictory. That on one side we tell people take losses and take more losses. And then on the other side here, I'm also echoing Master Hsuan's teachings and said, you should fight to be first and be afraid to be last. So there's a contradiction there. Okay, so which one should you follow? Yes, too.
Thank you, Master. This sounds like a middle way problem. There are probably times to fight and times to relinquish. And that takes wisdom to decide which one.
Okay. Wei Mountain.
Thank you, Master. I think that in my experience, you should do the one that you're ready to do right now, in this moment. Cultivate what you can cultivate now and see how it goes.
Okay. There's no contradiction at all. Yes, Wei Mountain. It sounds contradictory, but there's no contradiction whatsoever. What is it you don't understand about the instructions? JMT.
선화상인께서 제일 앞에 서고 제일 나중에 서고 하는 그게 제일 나중에 선다는 것은 우리는 보통 고통을 받기 싫어하는 마음이 있는데 저 같은 경우는 그 고통 아프지 않고 싶다는 마음을 내려놓는 것은 뒤에 서는 것이고 이제 더 적극적으로 아픔과 고통을 이렇게 다른 사람을 이렇게 돕기 위해서 아픔과 고통을 두려워하지 않고 적극적으로 그것을 수용하는 태도의 문제라는 생각이 들었습니다.
So, Master, here, Great Master Shenhua talked about lining up first and the last. So what I think that we're talking about the suffering. We have a mind that we don't want to suffer. So the person who stands the last one in line is the one that put down on that the mind of afraid of suffering. And then the person who's standing the first will be the one who's ready to fight aggressively against the pain and suffering and not afraid. And it's a type of attitude toward the sufferings.
Okay, very good. Go Forrest.
Master, it seems like there's two instructions. One of them is that you should be afraid of falling behind or regressing. And then the other one is that you should take a loss to kill your ego.
As I said, there's no contradiction whatsoever. The reason the question was raised is because, from my perspective, the person who asked hasn't taken losses often enough yet. If you follow the instructions, then you take losses, and you keep on taking losses, You understand why you want to take losses. That's why then you understand that, and you won't be asking me, why should I be taking losses? Wouldn't that be in contradiction to my fighting to be first? You understand? It's a chicken and egg problem. I told you to learn to take losses. So take losses. Keep on taking losses and more losses and more losses. Then you understand. You won't be asking me this question. So I taught you to start by taking losses. I didn't teach you to start by fighting to be first, did I? It's only now that I teach you, you should also be fighting first. So the timing is different. I wanted you to start by taking losses as a fundamental way of life. If there's a chance for others to benefit, for us to benefit others, okay, we take losses in order to help others, because that's what it takes to help others. You cannot help and expect to gain. That's petty. That is worldly perspective. It will not help you open your wisdom. So you have to do it. You don't just sit there and listen to me, okay, so I'm supposed to take losses, but you're not doing anything. That's why you still don't understand it. If you did that, now I tell you, yes, I agree, Master YongHua, you should fight to be first, be afraid to be last. Then you understand immediately why. You understand? That's all. It's two different types of instructions. They're not necessarily contradictory, but you have to do one, at least. He taught them 30, 50 years ago to fight to be first. Okay? You did that. If they did that, when they hear my instructions 30, 50 years later, don't be afraid to take losses, they will understand. They would not be asking me, why are you first, why are you contradicting Master YongHua? Why are they contradictory? Okay? You have to do it. Then you understand. You don't do it, you keep on trying to rationalize the instructions instead of doing it. Folks, this great sage here, by the name of YongHua, he came to our world and gave us instructions on what to do to succeed, to open our wisdom, to be a superior person, to rise above our mediocrity. That is a big gift. It's not meant for us to listen to it and then shelve it. It's meant for us to listen to it and execute more and more of the instructions. Of course, we're not expected to be able to do everything, but at least we should try our best to execute. That's how you will succeed. It's only because you did not follow the instructions. That's why after all these years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, you still are so low in wisdom. You have accomplished not much at all, because all you do is listen. You don't execute. You don't do it. you fail to understand the wealth and the treasure that's given to you. And all you do is sit there and you talk and talk and talk and talk, and you want to understand only. It's nothing for you to understand. It's for you to do. Then you understand. Why? If you sit there and all you do is listen this instruction and then next instruction, I have bad news for you. The instructions, Buddha's instructions, are contradictory. If you want to try to intellectualize things and rationalize things, they are very contradictory because they tell a woman to do things differently from they tell a man. Why? Because the women are for her benefit. The man is for his benefit. It's not meant to be interchanged. And they're contradictory. Do you sound like I have a temper? Shut up. It's amazing because I came late in the game when he was dying. My Chinese teacher was dying. And he didn't teach people anymore. He still took me in as a left home person, as a novice, but he gave me really no significant instructions. Actually, pretty big instructions, but I couldn't understand it back then. So I was thirsting for instructions. Tell me what to do, because where I came from, we need to be trained before we can be sufficient in our job. Yeah? What we learn in college, in school, okay, it's just theory. We need to know how to apply it. Yeah? And there's none. So unlike you, who still have a live person who can ask questions, I could not ask any questions because they didn't know how to answer my questions. They probably found my question too insolent. Because I ask why in everything. Why should I do this? Why should I take a loss? Why should I fight to be first? It's reasonable, yeah? But I was not given that opportunity. Okay? So all I have is, if the great master says so, and he's supposed to have great wisdom, let's do it. Let's find out for ourselves. That's all I had. Now you can choose. You can say, between this master and the other master and the other master and so forth. Oh, I have so many choices. And that's why I'm reminding you, okay? My luck was that I only like one instruction. I read the other instructions. I didn't like them. I found them to be unappealing. They talk about how wonderful I am. They didn't tell me how to improve myself. If I know I'm wonderful already, I don't need you to tell me I'm more wonderful. I mean, it doesn't do anything for me, okay? But if you tell me how to improve, that is useful to me. Yeah? And so what intrigued me about Master Hsuan Hua's instruction is that I somehow believed that it would help me become better and improve. Whereas the other monks, they only tell about how much they know, how great they are, and how wonderful life is. And it has nothing to do with me. You know? That's my luck. That's why I became very appreciative. I tried to go to share that with you. Be so grateful you're given instructions, because if you follow the instruction, you understand why, and you have great benefits. You don't follow instructions, you get what you deserve. Okay? That's life. And ultimately, going back to question number 1, okay? You follow the instructions, okay? You endure the hardship, okay? And you will fail. No two ways about it. And that process right there, by following the instructions, you will succeed in the future. Guarantee success for you, okay? So the more you fail, okay, the bigger and the faster your success, okay? And ultimately, as was said earlier, okay, if you want bigger success, then you keep going in spite of failing. You don't quit. That's how you deal with it. Any questions? I hope I answer all your questions. Did I? Is there anything that's not clear to you? I can hear myself now. It's so cool. Yes, YouTube.
Thank you, Master. Din Tai says, thank you for all of the feedback. They're going to start to park the car as far away from the entrance of the grocery store shopping from now on.
That's what I do too. But my nuns, they don't like to walk very much, so they always complain. All right. We have 15 more minutes. Let's move on to the next section, shall we? Unless you want to take a break and go for pizza. No? Oh, some people are fasting. I'm sorry. I shouldn't bring up eating. It's so insensitive of me. Oh, you poor things. Yes, Wei Mountain. Why would you fast in San Francisco? Excuse me? Yes, ma'am.
Emitofuo, Master. I was invited to go to like this free hugging from Emma, but is it advisable? I thought I remember you were saying that that we get ghosts from the hug. Was that really the case?
Sorry. You couldn't hear it either? Only him understands what the question is about. Could you repeat the question, please?
Master, is it advisable from you to go and get a hug from the hugging lady, Emma? I was invited, and it sounds very interesting, but I think you mentioned something about sending ghosts about it last time. Was that really the case?
Well, if you enjoy that, why not? It's no harm.
But really, is sending out ghosts?
I don't know. I cannot speak for them. What are you afraid of? If you're afraid, don't go. It's that simple.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Yeah. But, like everything else in life, you have to take a chance. Just because a boy tells you he loves you, you still have to take a chance. Okay? Well, you don't know how he really is until you marry him. Okay, let's continue, please.
Today, I will tell you about another eminent monk.
这一位高僧呢是出在晋朝，他的师傅是道安法师。
This eminent monk lived during the Jin dynasty. His master was Master Daoan.
他是什么地方的人呢？没有人知道。
Where was he from? No one knows.
因为他从小就出家，学习这个放光般若。
Because he became a monk at a very young age and studied the Bhagavata-shirk project, streaming light project.
等这个道安法师到长安去，他就随着道安法师到长安。
When Master Daoan went to Chang'an, he followed his master there.
可是他欢喜清净，不受人的供养。
However, he rejoiced in peace and did not accept offerings from people.
愿意在这个山上住，愿意在这个林子里边来打坐。
He preferred to live in the mountains and meditate beside the spiritual plaques.
于是乎他就隐遁在这一个山呢，叫福州山。
Therefore, he secluded himself in a mountain called Mountain Fuzhou.
这个山呢，就好像一个船呢翻过来。
This mountain looks like an upside-down boat.
翻过来在那个放的，所以叫福州山。
Turned upside down and placed there, so it's called Mount Fuzhou.
他在这住不和任何的人接近，也不受人的供养。
He lived there, keeping away from people and not accepting any offerings.
你想去供养他，为了一点钱呢，一点米他不受的，不接受人的供养，性情就这么古怪。
If you would like to offer him some money or rice, he wouldn't accept it. He accepted no offerings. His temperament was just too stubborn.
住了很多年，他也不出来，也不下山。
He lived there for many years, not coming out or descending from the mountain.
那么有一年呢，他就从山上跑出来，跑出就把这个京城里边的长安里边所有的和尚都请来了。
So, one year, he ran out from the mountain. He ran out and invited all the monks who lived in Chang'an, the capital city to come.
评呢，他就讲这个大品般若经，所以讲般若经，大家讲。
Having invited them here, he lectured on the Prajna Sutra.
旁人就很奇怪的就问他，说你从来在山里边住着，也不愿意见人，也不愿意受人供养。
Others were very surprised and asked him, "You have always lived in the mountains, unwilling to see people or accept offerings from them.
你为什么现在下了山又讲经了呢？
Why have you now left the mountain and lectured on sutras?" So from this point on, there's no audio. He replied, 他说我的法名叫道立，道安法师是我的师父。He replied, "My Dharma name is Dao Li, and Dharma Master Dao An is my master." 我道立修行了这么多年，研究这么多的经典，可是现在我时候不多了，大约秋天我就要走了。I, Dao Li, have cultivated for many years and investigated many sutras, but now my time is running out. I will likely to leave around autumn. 所以我现在给你们各位讲讲经，解解法缘。So now I'm giving you all lectures on sutras to form Dharma affinities. 把我所明白的道理、所学的佛法，大大概概的讲给各位听一听，就了了我的心愿。I will briefly explain to everyone the principles I understand and the Buddha Dharma I have learned, thus fulfilling my wish. 一般人就听他讲经 Therefore, the common people listen to his sutra lectures. 果然，到结下安居以后，就是过7月15之后，没有多少天，他就无疾而终。Indeed, shortly after the completion of the summer retreat, not many days after the 15th of 7 months of the lunar calendar, he passed away without illness. 所以，一般的人都说这位法师是预知时至，一定往生极乐世界去了。So, common people all said that the Dharma master knew the time of his death in advance. He must have been reborn in the Pure Land. 这位高僧预先就知道往生的日子，在半年以前就知道。为什么他会知道呢？ This eminent monk knew in advance the day of his rebirth, 6 months in advance. How did he know? 因为禅定的功夫好，他每一座禅最少就是7天。Just because of his excellent Chan concentration skills, each of his meditation sits lasted at least 7 days. 在这7天，他也不吃饭，也不喝水，都在定中。During these 7 days, he didn't eat or drink. He entered and remained in samadhi. After 7 days, 7天后，他出定，又入第2个7天的定。After 7 days, he exited samadhi and then entered another 7-day samadhi. 他因为常常不需要吃东西，常常入定，所以就不受人的供养，不需要吃饭。Because he often didn't need to eat and frequently entered samadhi. He did not accept offerings and did not need to eat. 他认为吃饭是一件最麻烦的事情，不愿意行吃饭的苦恨。He considered eating to be the most troublesome and did not want to endure the hardship of eating. 因为他不愿意行吃饭的那种苦恨，所以他就禅定三昧现前了。Because he avoided the hardship of eating, his Chan concentration samadhi came to the forefront.
To the fore.
于是乎，就预先知道什么时候会往生的。Therefore, he could know in advance when he will be reborn. 那么说，知道什么时候往生又有什么用呢？ You might ask, what is the use of knowing when one will be reborn? 我也可以知道我什么时候往生，譬如我愿意明天死，我吃多一点安眠药就死了。I too can know when I will be reborn. For example, if I want to die tomorrow, I could take a lot of sleeping pills to die. 我告诉你们说是我明天就死了，那么我这也是预知时至，可是你这是不自然的预知时至。If I told you I would die tomorrow, that would also be knowing in advance the time of death, but this is not a natural way of knowing in advance the time of death. 我遇着过这么一位法师，他到过缅甸去拜大金塔，拜了10次。I once met a Dharma master who had visited and bowed to the Shwedagon Pagoda in Myanmar 10 times. 暹罗、印度他都去过，佛的事迹啊、菩提树啊，他都去看过。He had also been to Siam and India, visiting sites related to Buddha and the Bodhi tree. He has visited them all. 可是这位法师没有禅定的功夫，只有拜佛的功夫。However, this Dharma master didn't have Chan concentration skills. He only had the skills of bowing to the Buddha. 天天早上起来拜佛，拜几百拜，然后他又乱拜一气，又拜什么呢？ Every morning he would get up and bow to the Buddhas, bowing hundreds of times. Then he would again bow haphazardly in one go. Who did he bow to? He bowed to the 然后他又乱拜一气，又拜什么呢？拜皇帝，拜娘娘，拜国王，拜大臣，拜总统，什么都拜。He bowed to the emperors, queens, kings, ministers, and presidents. He bowed to everyone. 暹罗的皇帝他也拜，缅甸的也拜。He bowed to the kings of Siam and Myanmar. 这么一位法师，他没有定力，也没有什么智慧。This Dharma master had neither samadhi skills nor much wisdom. 但是因为自己是资格很老了，大约对这个世界也很讨厌了，就告诉人说是他要走了。But because he had considerable seniority and was probably quite disillusioned with the world as well. Therefore, he told people he was leaving. 然后他就吃了很多的安眠药，又做了一首偈颂。这偈颂是怎么样说的我忘了。他说他要往生极乐世界了。 Then he took a lot of sleeping pills and also composed the verse. I forgot how the verse goes. He said he was going to be reborn in the Pure Land. 殊不知吃了很多安眠药，但是还不够分量。Little did he know, he took a lot of sleeping pills, but the dosage was still not enough. 安眠了一天之后又活了，没有死。After being sound asleep for one day, he was alive again. He didn't die. 所以我说，你自己要预先说才是。想吃安眠药死，那个不算的。So I say that you yourself must announce it in advance for it to count. Wanting to take sleeping pills to die, that doesn't count. 倒立法师是自己功夫到这种境界上，知道自己哪一天往生，这才是真正的功夫。Dharma Master Dao Li, his skills had reached such a state that he knew the day of his own rebirth. Now, this is true skill.
That's it. Okay, time is up, so let's discuss this next time. Thank you, everyone. Good evening.